Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit of Twitter scraping and then measuring the sentiment on tweets or sentiment analysis of tweets. So I sort of did it already here, but I'll show you again. So let me disconnect what I have here. Now here's a trick that you might want to use. If you don't want to delete operators, you can just select them and disable them. So I'll disable those, and I will select these two, which which I used before, and I'll enable them. So we're going to start out by searching Twitter or using the search Twitter operator, and you just search Twitter here, and you drag it onto the screen and select it, and then we have to connect to Twitter. So what we have to do is make a connection to Twitter. So we go up here to connections and we create a connection. So let's try that. Actually, I've already done it, but I'll do it again. So it shouldn't be a problem to do it again. So we can select here the type of connection, and we'll use a Twitter connection. The other options are like these, and there's Amazon and some others. Okay, but anyway, we're doing Twitter, and then we're going to have this connection in our local repository, and I already did one, but all right, let's call it Twitter connection 2, or maybe I'll call it 2021-2. Okay, and I'm going to click create. Okay, and then we need what's called an access token. And you need a Twitter account. I don't think you need a developer account, but you might. But I don't think you do. But you need a Twitter account. And the access token is sort of like an identifier that Twitter gives you so that they know who's using the system, who's scraping the tweets, basically. And they can tell if you're doing too much or whatever. So, so here you click on here. And so you can click here or you can click here. And we're going to need some code from Twitter. So I'll get that now. And after you've logged into Twitter, which I've already done, you will get this, and you just click here, and it gives you a code. And then you have to put that code in here. You put the code in here, and then you click complete. And then you've gotten the token from Twitter. And then you can test the connection here, make sure it's working, and then you can save it. Okay, and then we have to tell this search Twitter where our connection is, and you can see here's my local repository, and we have connections there, and the last one I made was here, so it's in the local repository, so we have to say that. So the choices are predefined or repository. So I guess there are predefined connections, but apparently they have been, or at least the Twitter one has been depreciated by Rapidminer. So you're not supposed to use that. In fact, I think you can't use it. It doesn't work. But anyway, we didn't do that. We created our own up here. And so it's in the repository, and that's what we want to tell as the source. And the name is this one. I'll use the new one. And then you can search on keywords in Twitter. So let's say I want to do search for tweets. Okay, suppose that I want to search on this Moto G9. So that's an Android phone, and recent or popular. And here, I think you're limited to 1,000 per day. I'm not quite sure about that. but right now I'll just search for 10 tweets. And here, suppose I search for 10 and the last ID, each tweet has an ID, and the last ID is some number, then I don't want to do, if I do another search, I don't want to get the same tweets again. So I can say since the last, I put in the ID number here of the last tweet, and then I won't get the previous tweets again if I run it again. There's a maximum ID, and there's a language, so I'm using English. There's a code here called ISO 639-1. If you look that up on the internet, you can probably find the codes for other languages as well. And I guess you can limit it and say until a certain date. Now you may not see all the parameters that I saw, so you'd have to click Show Advanced Parameters here. Now you can also, actually I don't know what the locale is, but filter by geolocation. If most tweets don't have a geolocation, they don't. I guess most users don't allow Twitter to know where they are, but some do. And here, if you choose that, you can give the latitude and longitude and radius and units and so on. Okay, so those are the parameters that we have to set here. Oh, we didn't mention this one, recent or popular. So you can choose recent ones or popular ones or recent or popular ones. Okay, so then we can connect this to an output. We can write it to a file. And we have to connect from here. We saw that before to here. And then we have to fill in these parameters. So we have to say the name of the file. So I'll call it Twitter example 2, as I just did this. And open it. And okay. Okay, I forgot one other thing here. Let's click back on here, and no, I'm sorry, that's all. Okay, and now this should work, and let's try it. Okay, it says it wants the latitude, but I don't know why. Oh, I clicked that. I didn't mean to click that. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, so now we get the result set, the tweets, and there are 10 of them here. And these are the IDs that I was talking about. So every tweet has an ID, so you can identify it with that ID. These are the dates. These are the users, the user ID, the language, and here's the text. That's kind of the most important part. You can see the geolocation. There were none of these allowed, I guess, Twitter to know their locations. And this is the retweet numbers, how many times they were retweeted. But let's look at some of the text. And let's see. Motorola Moto G unlocked. So maybe this is somebody trying to sell something. Check this out at Amazon. Motorola Moto G9 Play. This isn't another, I guess it doesn't look like English, but maybe it's English. Here's another one. Okay, so you can see the text that all contains Moto G9. Okay, let's go back to here, and let's look at, see if that file was actually created, because we did write Excel to create it. Okay, and you can see it's here, so we have the file as well. Okay, now let's take that file and do some sentiment analysis. Basically, what we're going to do is just check to see whether a tweet is positive or negative. So let's try it out. So let's disconnect this, and let's disable these two. Try that again. Okay, disable them. And let's enable this one. and this one. Okay, so this is familiar. We're just retrieving some data, but actually I want to delete this because I want to get the, one more thing we have to do is import the file that we just created into our repository. Otherwise, we don't have to do that, but apparently Rapidminer works better if you import it first. So let's do that. So we click here and we go to here and let's import it. Next, 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 and finish into the local repository. Okay, so now hopefully it's there. Here it is. Okay, so let's drag that onto the here, onto the process panel, and now we have another. We want to do some sentiment analysis, and there are probably other ways to do this, but there's an operator called extract sentiment. So you can just search for it here. And there it is. You just drag it on and click on it to set the parameters. Okay, so here there are various models or algorithms, machine learning algorithms, that will try to figure out the sentiment of something, of some text, and we can use different ones. So we can use this one, or if you're using French or German, I guess you could use these. And there's one more in here, either this one or this one that you can use. I know I tried to use this one, but it's actually, it used to be free, but now this company that made this operator so that Rapidminer people would connect to it have stopped providing the data for free. So you can't, so I couldn't use this one. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to use this one. And let's see what the advanced output is. No, we don't want that. And here, this is, well, let's look at this. So here you can add sort of extra words into the machine learning algorithm and tell the algorithm specifically whether you consider it a positive word or a negative word. So you can give it if you consider it a positive word, you can give it a positive number for the score. If you consider it neutral, you can give it a 0. And if you consider it a negative word, you can give it a negative number for the score. But I don't have any reason to do that here. That's if you have a sort of special domain and you want to annotate certain words with certain scores. But anyway, I'll just ignore that. And now let's try connecting here to here, and then from here to here. And let's try it out. Okay, so now we get a new column here called score, and none of these are, this one is fairly positive relative to the others. So let's read this one. Oh, I forgot to do one thing. I forgot to mention that we have to tell the algorithm which field or which column in our data set we want to analyze. And I had this from before. I want to analyze the text data. So in other words, going back to here, I want to analyze the data in this column, not, for example, I don't want to analyze the usernames. That doesn't really make much sense. Or this doesn't make much sense. This makes sense. We want to analyze the text in this field, and that field happens to be called text. So that's why I have text here, because it's the name of the column. The name of the column was capital T, EXT. Okay, let's just check that again. You can see that the name of the column is text, and that's the column we want to analyze. Okay, so here we have that this one was pretty positive. So let's see, what does it say actually? How can we do this? Let's do that. Let's slide this over so we can read it. which one was positive? I keep trying. I'm sure I'll win eventually, LOL, probably after I upgrade. What's your thought? So that's not so positive, but I guess the algorithm sees the word win, and so might guess that this is a positive tweet, but it's not actually very positive. I'd say it's closer to neutral. Or maybe it is positive because they're saying eventually they'll win. But anyway, whether it's what it actually is and what the algorithm says it is may not necessarily match, although we'd like to think that it does because we'd like to get accuracy. Like going back to here, which of them are negative? So this is the only one that, or these two are the most negative. In fact, these are the same ones. I have Moto G9, so that's not particularly negative. I don't know why it would say negative. But anyway, it classifies it as negative. So you can see this is not necessarily that accurate, but it might be useful. Okay, so we have collected some tweets, stored them in a file, imported the file, retrieved the file, and done some sentiment analysis on the file. Now, this doesn't have to be just tweets. Like we got the tweets, but we might have had just some other data. For example, maybe we had some a file that contains movie reviews, or maybe we have a file that contains product reviews from Amazon. So the file might be something like this, but instead of tweets here, maybe we have Amazon reviews here. And instead of username, well, whatever, we might have a date field, and this is a date field, I guess. We might have a date field, and so on. But whatever fields we have, and then the column of this might be called not text, but it might be called review. So if that was the case, then in here we'd have to write review as the name of the field that contains the text that we're interested in. And there are probably ways to do this even if all of your data isn't stored in an Excel sheet. For example, you might have a folder with many different reviews in it, and each review is in a separate file. And there are probably ways to aggregate that and use that just as easily as, or nearly as easily as we did with the Excel file. So any collection of text that you want to evaluate, you can use this extract sentiment. There are other operators. For example, there's one here. Well, here, I showed you this thing here. This is a company, and they have written an operator for Rapidminer, and I guess if you pay, you can use that operator. Okay, that's all for doing a little Twitter scraping and then a little bit of sentiment analysis.